What's up? What's going on, bro? Sis, what's cracking? Today, my thoughts were how much effort are you putting into yourself? You know, do you know how much effort you're putting into yourself? Do you know how much effort you're putting into change, into feeling better, you know, loving the person you see in the mirror? Every day that I wake up, I always think like, man, in this present moment, how much effort have I put into myself? Just on changing better habits, you know, going, go, actually putting in work, actually putting in time, actually learning. You feel what I'm saying? And I always feel like on your growth in life, the biggest thing is just how much knowledge do you really have? I'm not saying you gotta know everything in the world, but at the same time, like, are you still giving yourself knowledge? You know, absorbing, staying hip to the square. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I just, up until this point in life, it, you got to understand, like, it's either you do or you don't, and that's one of the, like, probably like one of the hardest things I've ever had to accept is either you do or you don't. You can talk a lot, you feel what I'm saying, and not do a lot. You can be busy but not productive. When I started understanding like these for real serious concepts about like just progress and what you should be focusing on, you put a lot of time worrying about people, not in the way of people that don't worry about you, but worrying about people who don't worry about you, i.e. the narcissists. You know what I'm saying? Like, you put a lot of time into that. You put a lot of effort. You feel what I'm saying? There's a lot of effort and love behind what you were trying to convey to them that entire time, and inevitably what you were really doing was just wasting time. You feel what I'm saying? Like, some of us waste months, some of us waste years, you know, wasting years chasing people, putting in entirely too much effort into somebody who is not giving you that back. You feel what I'm saying? And as you progress from your situations, your time really becomes about, you become more aware of it. You become more aware of how much time you're spending. Like, at least for me, that's what I've come to understand. Like, dang, I put a lot of time into chasing people. You know what I mean? Like chasing relationships, trying to hold relationships it's not that deep, because obviously it's not that deep to them. You feel what I'm saying? And as I've gotten older and just like, man, dude, it's not regretful to be saying, to be honest with you. It's really just to give you an insight on, how to spend your time going forward. You feel what I'm saying? Who, on what, sorry. I don't know. It's just to be, whenever times that I think about what I've been through, and be like, man, all I had to do was just go a different direction. Like, a lot of it, again, like I always say, it's like it's self-inflicted at some point, because you can leave. You know what I mean? You don't have to, I don't know, if you don't have to depend on narcissistic people. You feel what I'm saying? I know at some point we do feel like that, but it's really not the case. Like, you don't have to depend on them for emotional relief. You don't have to depend on them for, the validation to be happy today. And that's the kind of stuff that I mean by how much power and how much effort in giving somebody else the power over you, living on autopilot. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta be okay with trusting yourself and making the right decisions for yourself, and having the power to do so, and believing in what you're choosing to do. I I don't know. I feel like, let me get some water, man. I feel like whenever you decide to wake up, when you wake up to the actual goofiness of the situation, you know what I'm saying? When you wake up from, you know, the rose colored lens of what you saw, what you knew, what you experiencing, that belief in yourself and not gaslighting yourself. You can gaslight yourself into so many lies and you just start believing in this stuff. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm only saying all this because I'm just saying about how much effort and time you put into it. You know what I mean? And that's that. If you can look back at all at how much strength and how much effort you put into something, and now that you understand at this point, what that entails, it's like, dang, if I put that into something else that's positive, what is the ROI on that? Myself. You feel what I'm saying? Building something. I don't know. I it's crazy because I sit here and I think about the present a lot. Like, what could have happened if I didn't, you know, go this way, go this route, think this way, decide to believe that I can stop ruminating. You feel what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people don't be understanding, man. Like, this stuff is deep because whenever you deal with narcissistic abuse, like, again, for the most part, most people don't even know what it entails, what it feels like if they've experienced it, and or what it looks like when they do experience it. You see what I'm saying? Most people don't know. That's why I always say, like, that superpower of the awareness of what it is. Like, what it is when you call it, when you see it now. You don't have to, like, lie to yourself. And even if you are speaking to somebody about it and saying, like, hey, this is what this is, and they're like, what is that? Again, it's not too many people that's aware of this kind of concept. So again, it's about the mental power, if you will, the mental strength that I say, the mental effort and time you put into thinking this way, being, you know, put into their system, the fire rings, into the circus. You feel what I'm saying? And it's crazy because now at this point, you should know that they're going to bring that circus wherever they go, to whomever is going to be there to perform it with him. You feel what I'm saying? That's why I say don't worry about anything that may have corresponded up until this point. Don't ever worry about that kind of stuff. It's stupid. It's going to be the same way. You, me, is growth. It's up. You feel what I'm saying? It's self-worth. It's understanding what self-worth is. Understanding your time is valuable. You feel what I'm saying? Put your time into people, into things that's going to make sense. And as you progress upon this journey, just make goals, accomplish, succeed. You feel what I'm saying? It's up this year for everybody. You watching this video right now, it's up. You feel what I'm saying? We all working on our goals. We all have become very aware of how valuable we are by going through those situations, by understanding, what it's like to feel not as confident, what it's like to feel like the lowest point, like beneath people, and then you start to really do the work on yourself. You start to really grind and really hustle and really work on your mindset, and you put yourself in a better position to acknowledge the fact that you are really stronger than what you believe that you are. This entire time you've been this strong. You had no idea until you start really actually putting in the actual effort that you would put into chasing people into yourself. You feel what I'm saying? Not distracting yourself when you decide to actually pay attention to how you feel and what is it that you truly believe morally. All this stuff is important as you recover on your journey of just becoming the best version of yourself, this self-discovery. When you stop distracting yourself from things that you've put so much effort into or put so much importance on, that what really important, and you give all that energy to yourself, I'm telling you, and on top of while you're recovering from this, you get into a space where it's like, wow, the clarity to think, You feel what I'm saying? Like, I can't tell you how clear minded now, you know, you're getting to, I've gotten to, you're working on, whatever the case may have you. That mental fog then, like, I couldn't even think. You can get so consumed thinking about other people's problems all day. You feel what I'm saying? And you get stuck with that, of other narcissistic people's problems, more specifically. And you get stuck with that all day. You put so much effort into thinking about figuring out their catastrophication. That's not a really word, I don't know, but I just they catastrophize a situation that you just so happen to take ownership of, and you got to figure it out. Like, and it's just like you do that a lot as an empath, as a chosen one, if you rather, however you identify yourself as. But it's you you give because it feels right, and narcissists love that. You feel what I'm saying? Because you're gonna give even if they treat you wrong. That's how they lose their respect for you, because they see how you're letting them treat you wrong and still you still treat them right. That's how they lose respect for you. You feel what I'm saying? That's that devaluation stage as you get discarded. But going through those tough times and getting up until this point, I'm telling you, it's a small percent of people that actually work on their actual emotional health. You feel what I'm saying? To actually desire that, to actually feel good about yourself for real, and not play into the delusion of the belief, the manifestation. No, you really do feel good about yourself, man. Straight up, because you put the work in. You put the work in, and you accomplish, and you succeed. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it puts you in a better euphoric state because you're doing. You know what I mean? You're not distracted. You actually have purpose. You actually working towards purpose. You feel what I'm saying? Don't ever doubt yourself. Confidence, belief, even if people feel like you shouldn't believe that much, you have to be your own hype man, your own hype girl. You feel what I'm saying? You have to quit letting most narcissistic people tell you how to think. You feel what I'm saying? You have to quit letting people do that. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know what's right for real, for real. You have to really put effort into yourself. You have to do things that may seem weird to people, because most people don't have those kind of good habits. And it's not to be this, it's just to give you reality. When you're finding this kind of information and you're trying to use this kind of information to encourage yourself and better yourself, you put yourself in a different tier of people. You know what I mean? The people who are really self aware about their actual being. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get some water. Becoming this self aware about yourself, it's a good sign. You know, it may seem a little weird at first, because you start to be like, wow, most people aren't really like aware, of self. They do the things that distract themselves and/or won't put them in a better state of feeling better about themselves. And when you really start to take the journey of centering yourself with your goals, aligning yourself, practicing, building better habits, a lot of the belief narcissistic people put upon you or projected upon you, you start to really understand that that's their own weaknesses. A lot of people, your entire life, anybody that's downplayed you about something, is because they're trying to project their own weaknesses upon you. That's why you don't try stuff a lot when you was younger, or was scared to try stuff, because you had that anxiety that somebody else gave you, that narcissistic person gave you, the kinfolk, the friends. You know what I mean? The people that you trust gave you that anxiety, and it wasn't even yours to begin with. You had already believed in yourself before you even heard the person that you said that you love say that you couldn't do it, because they haven't. They can't. You feel what I'm saying? And that's what being in a relationship, when you be in a relationship with somebody that's narcissistic like that, they do that same thing too. They project upon you. They have to always say something about you, say something negative about you so that you won't feel good about yourself, so that they can see that and feel better about themselves and keep you in that spot. And you get stuck like that mentally and emotionally. But again, with the moment you go no contact from them, people like this, you get a great realization on, wow, I can think. I can get back to self. You feel me? I can build. I can focus. I can focus on self. The moment you start to put that kind of focus in yourself, you will see a completely change different in your life. For real, straight up. Working on yourself every single day continuously it's a lifestyle on this recovery journey. You feel what I'm saying? It's a lifestyle to actually want to work on yourself, to rebuild your mind, to put yourself in the back in a clear minded state. You know what I mean? It's a lifestyle. You can fake it at the beginning if you want to, but if you're not consistent, then this won't be consistent. You will continue to loop these problems with these people and stay in the past as you're in the present moment trying to go to the future. You feel what I'm saying? Like all the way doing too much. You feel what I'm saying? You control, no contact, control, focus. I'm telling you, the path to the focus, the clear mindedness, the emotional state of not having to feel that much anxiety about somebody else that catastrophize a situation that you have to worry about, that becomes your ownership, while also dealing with somebody else's projecting upon you and doing that over and over and over and over and over. It's there's of course that you would have insecurities that you didn't that wasn't yours, that you've adopted. You feel what I'm saying? Being around them. Some of these insecurities that you have and some of the stuff you believe about yourself is not even yours to begin with. But you have to try and you have to continue and you have to focus and grind on yourself, your mental self, your emotional self, your spiritual self, your physical self. That way you draw in the people that you're supposed to be around to you. You feel what I'm saying? You are who you hang around. And I mean that. As you work on yourself, you'll find those people, you will draw those people, you will draw your tribe. To spend any more time worrying about the past with these kind of people at this point, it's not doing you any good. Forget who they are. I mean, they want to live rent free in your mind anyway. They want to do those crazy euphoric situations that live in your rent free in your mind anyway. And once you break that concept, and once you understand and get away from that and quit thinking and focus on what's more important, which is putting the effort into yourself, that's when the transformation starts to really happen, when it starts to take off, because you let go of what isn't. You're not gaslighting yourself anymore, bro, sis. You're not gaslighting yourself anymore. And when you stop gaslighting yourself, that's the jump. That's the rest of the journey. Stop gaslighting yourself. Stop telling yourself the lies that somebody else told you that told you to believe. Stop. Unleash you. Open your brain. It's okay to be you. There's nothing wrong with that to begin with. I understand that the narcissist may make you feel like being you was wrong, but being you is not wrong. You feel what I'm saying? You are who you were before you met them. Get back to that and enhance that. You are working on that. It's up. To become the best version of yourself wasn't gonna be easy, but it's possible. And you become the best version of yourself, and you put yourself on a journey because you decided to find information like this video to click on to get you there. You feel what I'm saying? And Don't ever feel like don't ever feel like that the doubt you had then should be your continued mindset going forward in your life. You feel me? So I hope this message finds you well. I'm Fonzie Murph, and I'm out. Peace.